Wheat, carbs, sugar, they're your brain's silent killers, according to our next guest. Even so-called healthy carbs like whole grains are dangerous to your brain, and they can cause depression, epilepsy, ADHD, Alzheimer's, and more. Joining me now is Dr. David Perlmutter. He's a neurologist and a fellow of the American College of Nutrition. He's also the author of a book called Grain Brain. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, so this I have to tell you right off the top. Seriously? You hear that claim, all these grains are causing all these mental illnesses. People are going to say, come on, Dr.
Well,
Perlmutter,
here's
give
the
me a
thing.
break
People
here.
haven't said that. People have embraced this notion and finally are getting the information that they've been desperate for. Because face it, we've been told live our lives come what may, and then when you're depressed you take a pill. When you're short of memory, there's going to be a pill for you there. But that's not reality. That's treating the smoke, ignoring the fire. The mission here is to identify what is causing these problems. And we now know, based upon, not my book, but just based upon peer-reviewed literature, the best science we have available, that these are issues caused by carb loading of your brain, basically.
So is this something that is tied to gluten? Is it gluten that's causing this?
Gluten is part of this story. And
okay.
You know, the big gluten-free trend has traction because it has absolute merit. Our best scientists at Harvard, for example, have found that 100% of people have some degree of gluten sensitivity. And what happens to them when they consume gluten, you and I consume gluten, is it induces inflammation. Why is that important? It's important because inflammation is the cornerstone of everything you don't want to get, including the things you mentioned, Alzheimer's, heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer.
So if you say all that, though, you look at grains, and especially whole grains, and the billions of people that are eating this food every day.
Right.
Wouldn't the problems be bigger than it is? Like, how do you explain
the problems are huge.
Okay.
Rates of diabetes are exploding. Rates of coronary artery disease are exploding. And not just here, but now that we've exported the Western diet to the rest of the world, it's happening worldwide. Now, people say, well, we've always eaten grains. I mean, in the Bible it says, give us this day our daily bread. The point is, that's just a blink of an eye ago. For 99.5% of our time on this planet, we ate a high-fat, gluten-free, low-carb diet. And what I'm saying is we've got to get back to that if we want a chance to preserve our health.
Now, let me ask you another question. You say that Alzheimer's can be preventable with diet. That's a pretty huge statement.
Well, it's based upon our most well-respected current literature.
Right.
The point is, it's a preventable disease. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco have proven and published that about 54% of Alzheimer's patients didn't have to get that disease if they would have paid attention to certain lifestyle choices.
All right, so if they already have it, is it too late? If you have Alzheimer's and you cut all that, is it too late?
There is so much that you can do.
Okay.
I mean, I'm still a practicing neurologist. I'm treating patients every day, and we see people reversing their situations almost on a daily basis.
Really, just by removing all the grains from their diet?
It's a little bit more technical than that.
Okay.
We've got to cut the carbs and add back in the good fat.
Type 2 diabetes, you say that doubles your risk. Why?
Well, because when your blood sugar is elevated, as it will be when you're diabetic, that is perfectly lethal to your brain. Last August, New England Journal of Medicine, August 8th, published an article showing that even subtle elevations of blood sugar, like 105 and 110, dramatically are associated with increased risk of developing dementia. That's a disease for which there is no treatment. So again, these are our leading institutions that are telling us this, and yet we're led to believe there's going to be a magic pill one day.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, though, as a consumer, because, you know, you keep hearing healthy grains, whole grains, and yet we wonder, you know, where is the balance here? Is it somewhere in the middle? Now, this is very, very interesting to me. We have a new verb, I guess we could call it. You say health is declining since the scientizing of nutrition. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think what I mean by that is quite clearly we are told by individuals who are doing research that we should be eating this and we should be eating that. And for example, in 1992, the U.S. government said we've got to cut back fat. We've got to go low fat and no fat, and within 10 years, the rates of diabetes in America went up threefold because our experts were scientizing what we should eat.
Yeah, well, what happened was to put all the flavor back in the food. When they took the fat out, they put sugar in it.
That's exactly right. And what I'm suggesting to you, Steve, is very simple. that we go on this brand new revolutionary diet. Brand new. It's only what we've been eating for about 2 million years.
Right. Do you think people can do it? Do you think that
I know
modern human beings can do that?
We see it every day. We see the success stories. We see people regaining their function, getting rid of things like depression and insomnia and cognitive issues, kids not being classified as being ADHD anymore, getting back to regular life without being put on medication. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, last question. Is it possible to change your genetic destiny? You talked about that.
Yes, sir. You know,
what does that, and what does that mean?
When we were in medical school, we were told that our genes determined everything we would be.
Sure.
Right? It's
if your
written,
family
it's
history,
your code of
high
life.
risk of whatever, you're likely to have it.
And here's what's really cool and empowering, is that the very food we eat, aside from big protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and micronutrients, is a signal to our DNA. It's information telling our DNA how to express itself. And more than 70% of the genes that code for health and longevity are under our control based upon our lifestyle choices, including the foods that we eat. That's pretty empowering.
Right, so the diet is really, really key. Is what
Changes
it all comes
your
down to.
genetic destiny. You're exactly right.
All right, Dr. David Perlmutter, thanks so much
Thank
for coming.
you.
Very, very interesting stuff.